Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again, one more time, to the Warren Hayes Show. I am Mr. Warren Hayes, and this is my SmackDown Live review show, and you are tuning in by pressing the button on the play here to watch this video where I will discuss at length the events of WWE SmackDown on October 2nd, 2018. Such a pleasure to have you here. It's always a fun time when I do this. It's a fun time when I know people go ahead and peek and take a look and watch the video, leave comments, drop over on Twitter and talk about it. Because I have this happens fairly regularly. It happens at least 2 times a week on my YouTube channel that you can find at tinyurl.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. Put out videos at least twice a week. Reviewing Raw, reviewing SmackDown. But then I do other stuff on top of that. I do a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm doing a lot of stuff this week. You know, on top of what I do here on my sweet, delicate channel here that I cajole very amorously every evening, I do a weekly 205 Live NXT recap show over on FightfulSelect.com. And these days, not only do I do 205 Live in NXT, but I also add on top of that big serving of bananas and ice cream, heaping amounts of hot fudge in the form of the Mae Young Classic. So yes, these days my 205 Live NXT recap is actually a 205 Live NXT Mae Young Classic recap. And where can you find this? You can find this on FightfulSelect.com, which is the premium service of Fightful.com, FightfulWrestling.com. Fantastic website to get all sorts of news and scoops and exclusives and for combat sports, pro wrestling, MMA, boxing. But if you go to FightfulWrestling.com, you just get your wrestling news all packaged up for you. And then if you want more content, you want more stuff to talk about, you want more people to talk to you about wrestling stuff, and you head on over to FightfulSelect.com. And on FightfulSelect.com, you get tons, boatloads, like these big cargo ships with those cargo containers. You get tons of those where people can just enjoy tons of podcasts that come off of these boats. Wrestling related podcasts, all sorts of listen. All right, pay attention. The type of content you get goes a little like this. You get a weekly podcast called The Weekender. That's managing editor Sean Ross Sapp, who takes care of that. And he goes over non-WWE programming on the show. He talks about Impact Wrestling, Lucha Underground, Ring of Honor, New Japan. Talks about being the elite, 12 pounds of gold, injury reports, talks about the news as well. He all does that in an hour every week. I do my 205 Live NXT Mae Young Classic recap show. We have a monthly retro pay-per-view review that I do with Sean, and that's fantastic. We recently did ECW. One night stand 2006 one, but it is like one night only. Like, I'm not entirely wrong here, right? Like a one night stand that's essentially what it is. You're basically telling whomever, this is going to happen for just this evening, for the next maybe 3 to 4 hours, depending on how things go. It just happens this one time, this one night. So yeah, I'm not that all far off. Don't come at me. But we did that recently. ECW One Night Stand 2006. It was a lot of fun. We even had a supporter, John, join us. So it was a triple threat during that match. During that, yeah. I'm ready for a fight. The betting man puts his money on Mr. Warren Hayes here. No, but we were 3 for that retro pay-per-view. I'll get through this. Trust me. There was 3 of us. He's essentially a loyal. John is a loyal FightfulSelect.com member, a great Fightful supporter. So he basically cashed in some of his perks to join us on that review. So that was fantastic. We've got a couple more on the way. We've got a few. We have a lot already up there on FightfulSelect.com in the can. SummerSlam 1992, right? We have TNA Unbreakable. We had listen, there's so much of them. You just go take a look at it. And then on top of that, you get Q&A sessions. You get dark match commentary where Sean pulls out a dark match that didn't have necessarily any commentary on it, and he slaps his own commentary on top of that. Great match that Sean just released this week. Chuck Palumbo and Billy Gunn. Yes, during that period of WWF versus very, very green Randy Orton and Shelton Benjamin. That was fun. You should go check that out. But the only way you can check that out is by becoming a member. So you're like saying to yourself, Warren, how do I become a member of FightfulSelect.com? Well, you go to FightfulSelect.com. You sign up. And then you sort of like push the cushions aside on your couch. You just move them aside. You start fiddling around for some pocket change, some small change. Because all you need is $5. That's all you need to become a FightfulSelect.com member and get access to this great, great content. $5. Of course, there's upper tiers, but everything I've talked to you about right here is available at the $5 entry level, and that's something you should sincerely consider because you're supporting a fantastic website. You're supporting more Warren Hayes on the internet. And who doesn't want that? My fiance. So that's I'm doing that tomorrow. Tonight. Sorry, we're doing that tonight because this is airing on the October 3rd on the Wednesday. So I'm doing that later on this evening, and then on top of that, Friday I'll be doing my Super Showdown predictions, and I will be joined by Chris Spizak of the Spies and the Benchmark Show. Fantastic podcast with Chris Spizak and Silky Barnes, the benchmark of professional wrestling. 2 fantastic dudes. Chris is one of the co-hosts. He's going to be joining me. We're going to be doing this together. We're going to be taping this on Thursday, releasing it on Friday, and then on Saturday is the big Australian show, the big super show, and I will be up at 5 a.m. to watch it. And then at 9 a.m., when the show is done, basically, I will be joining Sean Ross Sapp over on Fightful.com. Not FightfulSelect.com, Fightful.com for the post-show recap. Should be a lot of fun. Should be a lot of coffee as well. I am going to be hyper something fierce at that stage. And then probably around 10:30, maybe a quarter to 11, I'm going to caffeine crash so hard right into the deepest nap in all of nap history. So those are my plugs. And there's a bunch of exciting stuff coming down the pipeline. But I'll talk about it on another occasion once things get really solidified. But there's some really exciting stuff that I'm going to have a pleasure of being involved in, and it's going to be a good time because there's good times to be had when you talk about professional wrestling online. If you don't have a good time doing it, there's no point in doing it. It's kind of like wrestling, watching wrestling itself, you know? The way I see it, as a quick parenthesis, the way I see what I do and the way wrestling should be covered in general, I feel like there's a certain level of seriousness that should be put into it, right? You should be serious enough about what you do to put in real effort, and in the way that you cover it as well. Like there are things that happen in wrestling that demand serious coverage, but you can't take it too seriously either, because it's pro wrestling, right? It's at its core, wrestling is goofy shit. And we love it for being goofy shit. So there's a balance that you have to try and strike there. And I try, not exactly the most serious show, I'm aware of that, but it's still a good time. And that's what we want. And speaking of good times, you know what's a good time? You know what it's a good time for right now? It's a good time for bold tweets. Yes, because every time that there is a big main event show, Raw or SmackDown, and where I have to produce one of these podcasts afterwards, I hit the Twitter and I ask my timeline for their boldest predictions. Things that they think are going to happen on the show, but I ask them to go bold. I ask them to go crazy, nutty, pull the wackiest stuff they can come up with. As I say on the Twitter that I post, no limp noodle predictions. Only the boldest predictions, please. And I've got a few of them to share with y'all here today. And we are going to start with Joey Rambo. Is that it? Joey Rambo. Who basically, his bold prediction was Charlie Haas returns to health. Shelton Benjamin captured the U.S. Championship from Shinsuke Nakamura. That's a bold prediction. And you know what? The thing is that you kind of would like to see more Charlie Haas, I guess. Or maybe not. I mean, he's up there in years as well, and Shelton is a bit of a freak of nature. I don't know. It's a hang on a second here. I want to see what's up here. Oh, I skipped. I accidentally production value, guys. There we go. Yeah, Charlie Haas. He's I think he may have retired a few. Oh no, he was in Ring of Honor not that long ago, so it could have been possible. But man, Team Angle, they were something special. Mags and Bags again says his prediction is almost accidentally let slip that he has a strong Boston accent, and that would ruin the character. That'd be nuts. Also hilarious. But no, that's not what's going on. There were a lot of predictions, a lot of bold predictions that had to do with Samoa Joe and Wendy and AJ Styles. And here we have CM Rebel coming over and says the WWE title match will become a Wendy's panties on the pole match. That'd be kind of weird, but I kind of realized, I thought of something as I was watching this. You know, folks, for sure, deep down in your hearts, that during the late 90s, early 2000s, when Vince Russo was either working for WWF or WCW, you know that at some point he had a discussion to get exactly this kind of match happening. You know, either with Stacy Keibler's underwear or Tori Wilson's. For sure, you know he at least brought this up at some point. For sure. And it was shot down by people who didn't want to do this, but for sure this came up at some point. This idea was pitched. Roger Renman says AJ Styles has traveled to Samoa to visit Samoa Joe's house, and we know it's the right house because it says Joe on the mailbox. And I like to think, like, where Samoa Joe lives, because since it's just written Joe on the box, then everyone's first name is Samoa. So you have Samoa Joe, you have Samoa Carl, you have Samoa Nancy, you have Samoa Steven, kind of like a Smurf thing. It just has Joe written. So that's pretty bold. And then we have AJ has now acquired a specific set of skills and is coming for Joe to get his family back. I really like this one. To me, this was top bold tweet, but I realized I skipped across one, perhaps two. Darth Zenith here had a good one. He said Becky and Charlotte settled their differences over tea and scones. That's very bold. I think at this point, we don't want them to settle anything, especially over hot beverages and crunchy pastries. And Broxinator says Paige publicly humiliates Del Rio in front of the whole roster and watching fans. And yes, that's more hope than expectation on that one. That would be very satisfying, wouldn't it? Maybe she could call him out on his medical history and go put that out on the internet. Oh, I have absolutely no appreciation for Alberto Del Rio and his fragile masculinity. So those were our bold tweets, and we're wrapping up. As I was typing, I skipped a couple, and I was like, what a disaster. I'm completely ruining the segment. But no, I didn't ruin it that bad. So the bold tweets, they will be back again next week for Monday Night Raw. The Raw after the showdown. When you think about it, it's a good idea for them to have the show on the Saturday. In fact, there's no way they could put the show on Sunday and then have Monday Night Raw. Or at least with an incomplete roster. I mean, there's absolutely no way they could do the show in Australia, then fly back in time from Australia to the US and then be shipshape for a show. I mean, at some point, it's just ridiculous. So, I mean, they'll probably still be really exhausted on Monday, but at least they'll have the whole of Sunday to fly back. Let's get into it. Let's talk about SmackDown Live, which begins with our general manager, Paige. I don't think I mentioned this, but Paige's short hair, I'm into that look. She says that she thought that the general manager job was going to be exhilarating and exhausting, but she didn't expect to be confronted with this type of situation as to what Samoa Joe did last week. The Styles family is okay. She says that there were the police were called. The authorities were sent on location to deal with Samoa Joe. He was arrested for trespassing. There were charges that were pressed. And then she talked to AJ Styles on the phone, and AJ Styles said, well, it's okay. I just want to beat him up, if you fire him. Because then she said, what I'd do is that I'd fire him. But then AJ says, if you fire him, he's just going to go cower somewhere else and he's going to pull this kind of crap off again somewhere. And I just want to get my hands on him. And I'm like, okay, that's really good. So Paige didn't fire him, and then we see AJ cutting a promo from his home where he says he apologizes for not being on SmackDown that evening. He says he wouldn't be ready to perform considering the circumstances. It's what's happening is bigger than WWE, and he wants to stay in his home until he knows he has a guarantee for sure that Samoa Joe is in an airplane heading to Australia. That's I'm okay with that. He says that, and he's been checking under her bed and in her closet for Uncle Joe. He's gonna come get you. Lock your doors. Uncle Joe's coming to get you. You better be obedient little kids. Listen to your parents, kids. Uncle Joe's gonna sneak up and he's gonna snatch you. put you in his great big Simone belly. Oh my God. Ooh. But, all right. So this was the gist of the segment. I'm about to tear a new one into this. Well, maybe not that bad. But I'm disappointed. Okay, first of all, Paige, I'm talking to you, Paige. Love the hair. You're doing a fantastic job. Now, if you feel that this situation is getting a little out of your control, that you're not quite sure how to handle Samoa Joe and everything that he's doing, that you're a little surprised, I got to tell you, a friend, a pal, compatriot Paige, you kind of brought this on yourself. It's kind of your fault. You're the one who handpicked Samoa Joe to be your challenger for AJ Styles' championship. You remember when there was that contract signing and you were being all cagey? Ooh, it's a surprise, AJ. You're about to find out. And then Samoa Joe attacked him from behind. Well, there you go. This is all on you, Paige. You can't be standing in the ring saying, oh, this is so difficult. That's how she speaks, in a British accent. This is all so difficult. I have trouble maintaining control of the athletes in WWE. That's exact. Seriously, though, I think my Paige is amazing. It's spot on. It's just as good as Bruce Pritchard's Dusty Rhodes. It's even better. Hello, my name is Paige. Okay. So, basically Paige is telling us that she's having difficulties, but she brought it on herself. So that's one thing. All right. That's a minor issue, minor kayfabe issue. The main problem that I have with this situation here is that last week didn't create anything this week. There's nothing new. The story didn't progress. There's no advancement. There's no consequences. There's nothing that pivoted from this climax of a moment, this not a climax, this turning point in the feud. Samoa Joe going to AJ Styles' house to sort of terrorize his family, to get into AJ's head. There should have been something. You can argue to me that this has just made AJ Styles angrier, that Samoa Joe just got into his head more. But from a storyline perspective, from coming out to and creating a situation where there's actual development, we're at the exact same spot that we were last week and the week before that. And that's a shame. And this is the problem. This is the problem that WWE Creative has. You think they're going from point A to point B, when in fact it's always like point A to point A to point A to point A to point A. They give us the illusion that stories are going ahead, that there's new things being added to the story. But if you don't have any consequences to a situation, your storyline isn't going ahead. It's just running on spot. It's on a treadmill. It's not going anywhere. AJ is exactly as concerned and worried as he was. And Joe, well, we didn't even see Samoa Joe tonight. Last night. We didn't even see him on TV. And there were no consequences. It was just like, let's just wash it all away as if nothing happened. Kind of like on Raw on Monday night. where despite the fact that last Monday, the Shield, they had maintained during the whole evening, this intrigue as to whether, well, is Dean Ambrose really going to be, is he still okay with the Shield or not? And then at the end, he goes into the ring and he fist bumps his partners in the Shield, his brothers, Seth and Roman. And then we come back this week on Monday. Dean has the opening promo, and the question that is on everyone's mind is, Dean, are you okay with the Shield? Is everything all right? He went into the ring last week and he basically reaffirmed his allegiance. So yeah, no one was wondering, oh, is Dean teeter-tottering? No. So let's just wipe what happened last week and then come over this week and do some more intrigue, because apparently people liked that last week. So we're back. See, it's point A to point A to point A. There's no real development. We're not going forward. So that's what pissed me off, because this was something that I was looking forward to for weeks, for Joe to go to the Styles house. It happens. It's well done. Joe is freaking menacing. It ends on the cliffhangeriest cliffhanger ever of a wrestling show. Well, maybe not ever, but really great. Like, just cuts to black. Show's over. We don't even cut back to the ring. It's just, so during the entire week, we're thinking, wow, what happened? What's going to be next? Well, we tried to press charges, but AJ said, no, we're going to settle this in Australia. All right. It's a little disappointing. I think see that, and I've said this before. I'll say it again. They hire WWE, hire television writers, right? That's who they hire to come up with this stuff. Television writers have a legit understanding of episodical television and how it should go on. So it doesn't make any sense to me to be hiring television writers, because ultimately what the product comes out as, what it looks like, it looks like a wrestling show. It doesn't look like a TV show, because there's too much, there's less and less commitment to actual storytelling. There's too much logic. There's too much breaches in logic. There are too many breaches in logic, and there's too much retconning. No, and I should have prefaced this, that I know Vince McMahon has final say on everything. I know. You don't have to go out and tell me, oh, but it's Vince. He can flip this on any way he wants, whenever he wants. I know that. So why does he want TV writers then, if he's not going to let the TV writers do what they're supposed to be doing, what their expertise is, and that is develop compelling scripts that can be followed and enjoyed on a weekly basis? You know? It's kind of frustrating. It doesn't make sense. Anywho, first match of the night. That felt good to get off my chest, though, because it kind of got to me. First match of the night. R-Truth and Carmella versus Andrade Cien and Zelina Vega. This was another match to promote the Mixed Match Challenge. Mixed Match Challenge. I've been rehearsing, using Mixed Match Challenge as warm-ups before I start. Mixed Match Challenge. Mixed Match Challenge. The women start. Vega kicks Carmella in the face, but and what I thought was interesting, what was funny, is that for Vega to hit Carmella in the face, she actually had to jump up on the bottom rope to get the full height of her kick, which was pretty cool. R-Truth, 46-year-old R-Truth, hits a Hurricane Rana on Andrade Cien Almas. That's something. There's a test of strength, and Almas gets shoved into the ropes. Does the tranquilo pose with Zelina Vega, but then the baby faces do double splits. Carmella and R-Truth do the double splits in response. We get a dance break at some point. Truth dodges a knee in the corner and almost falls out to the floor. When Carmella gets in against Vega, she does a top rope Rana. She hits a Bronco Buster, a flatliner, but almost comes in and pulls her off. Carmella goes for a super kick. He catches it. Truth comes in and clocks Andrade right down to the mat and shoves him out of the ring, actually. And R-Truth goes and dives onto Almas on the outside. Now, the highlight is the ending, a fantastic conclusion. The ladies have, seriously, a fantastic ending. Zelina tries to roll up Carmella from behind. Carmella blocks it. Zelina dodges a kick. She goes for a flip pin. She goes for a pin where she basically flips on top of her like into a bridge type thing. But Carmella smoothly transitions out of that like butter smooth, like silky butter smooth. Transitions into a Code of Silence. That was wonderful. And Code of Silence, if I'm not mistaken, she hasn't done a Code of Silence in years. In a long time, years. I mean, she's been on SmackDown for 18 months or something. The point is that she hasn't done a Code of Silence in a long. I think it goes back to when she was on NXT. I think, because she's done it before. This was such a beautiful ending. That was fantastic, gorgeous, smooth. And you sort of wonder why Carmella wasn't pulling out this stuff while she was a heel. Because she actually is looking more and more credible in the ring ever since that match against Charlotte Flair, where she challenged her on SmackDown Live for the title. Ever since that match, I'm like, wow, Carmella she can go. Like she has, there's some real substance to what she does that she didn't get a chance to showcase because they wanted her to be the cowardly heel. I think she could have been the cowardly heel while putting on a show at the same time. I don't understand why they didn't do that. This was it was an okay match with a fantastic ending. And if we are not going to be able to have Rusev Day anymore as an act, then give us R-Truth and Carmella for a while, because it's a good pairing and it's entertaining. Ty Dillinger is backstage and he wants Randy Orton. He's not going to let what happened to him last week slide, man. So Paige, like she says, I don't understand men, but okay. Here you go. There's your match. Next, we have the New Day in their cooking segment, which was... Hang on, what's the word I'm looking for? Hang on a second. There's a word to describe how I felt about this segment. This segment was... garbage. I did not like this. Aside from the Ico Pro reference at the start, this is one thumb down, this is another one. They both go down. I did not like this. This was a waste of time. And the thing is, and I mean pouring pancake batter over a guy and in his hat. A guy that we don't really have any real affection for, any attachment. And he's in the ring doing everything in his power not to burst out laughing. Like, he is corpsing hard. And honest to God, the Bar and the New Day are two fantastic teams. And their match in Australia is likely going to be very, very good. Why they decided to saddle this feud with some such silly, stupid shit is beyond me. And I understand what they were trying to do with Cesaro and Sheamus. Cesaro and Sheamus were supposed to be the serious tag team, and they're like, no, listen, what you guys are doing is stupid, silly garbage, and we'll have none of that. But they end up playing along with the goofy stuff, you know? They end up pouring the pancake batter over the guy. It just ends up being stupid. Whereas, if you're going to have these two guys come in and say, no, this is enough silliness, don't have them cut cute promos on the way. Just have them come in, run, bust shit up, hurt guys, and not do zany, wacky stunts like pouring pancake batter on a dude. That's how you would have gotten it better across. And then maybe the New Day would have been like, maybe the New Day would have left the zany antics aside a little bit to become a little more serious New Day. And we've seen the serious New Day before. Their feud with the Usos last year had those elements. That was fantastic. When they were, was it against the Bludgeon Brothers? When the Bludgeon Brothers basically, like, they had injured Big E and stuff. They had stopped, you know, they weren't coming to the ring all big smiles and goofiness, which I'm usually okay with. That's not the problem. It's just that, man, you have such fantastic tag teams here, and if what the Bar tried to do was elevate, what they tried to do with the Bar was create conflict. You know, create a juxtaposition where it's like, no, we're not going to be playing with this. We're not playing with you guys, not on this level. We're serious. We take ourselves seriously. And they could have dragged the New Day into that. New Day set the silliness aside a bit, and it's like, okay, you guys want to do this? Let's do this kind of thing. Missed opportunity. My point is that both of these teams are going to go. They're going to go hard. It's going to be a fantastic match, and I don't think the build-up has been appropriate to this. Yeah. I didn't care much for this at all. Next, we had Ty Dillinger versus Randy Orton. Ty wanted this match, and he goes right after Orton immediately, instantly. They back and forth in the ring, tosses, and Ty tosses Randy to the outside. He dumps Orton on the announce table. He's not taking any of this. But Orton battles back and hits the draping DDT draped over the barricade onto the floor. And then, Randall Orton, he decides then that he's going to go to the turnbuckle and he's going to remove some padding, but not the typical turnbuckle padding, but that part of the cable, the padding of the cable, which connects like the buckle to the post, right? So he takes that off and he reveals like I don't know exactly what you call it, but some kind of connector that has like a slant in the middle. So he drags Ty over, and he bends his fingers and he puts his index finger right into that slant, and he starts yanking back on it. I was like, oh my God. Like, to me, this was worse than the ear. The ear was gross, okay? But technically speaking there, guys, like pull on your earlobe. Like let's do a science thing, okay? Take your earlobes, all right? Put them between your index and your thumb, all right? Grab your earlobes. You have your earlobes, folks, right in your hands right now? Grab them, all right? And tug on them, okay? Move them around. And like pull, like really pull. Look at this. All right, it kind of hurts, right? But it's not painful. It's not that bad. It's essentially what your earlobes are is it's cartilage, you know, and it's supposed to be bendy. But your finger, your index finger, being pulled back, that's no, and it's a pain that we can all relate to. It's something that I was looking at and said, I understand that this really friggin' hurts and this looks awful. And yes, he could snap his finger at any given moment. Of course, I know it's wrestling. It's fine. It's kayfabe. But I was still into it. And to me, this was worse than the ear. That was gruesome torture porn shit right there. I like Randy Orton like this. I like him a lot. So I guess the match ended up being a no contest. It wasn't very clear what the actual outcome was. But I am very much okay with Ty Dillinger chasing Randy Orton down, getting one up on him. Hopefully Orton has a notepad full of these creepy ideas, these creepy ways to hurt people in very minute yet very sensitive and visually gross ways, because I want him to coast on this for a while. We see Shelton Benjamin backstage. He's getting warmed up for his match against Daniel Bryan, a match that he sort of complained about on social media, saying, I don't get any matches. No, it's fine. It's fine. You have to get yourself out. You have to put yourself out there to get noticed, to get results. That's something you have to do, folks. Put yourselves out there. But The Miz is there, and he's giving him a pep talk because The Miz basically says, thanks for going after Daniel Bryan tonight. Soften him up for me, will you? Like, hurt him, make him feel terrible. And Benjamin says, I've been on the bench. I've been sitting on the bench every week, just waiting to show the world who I am again. And Bryan is going to be a casualty of this, and Miz is very satisfied. So that's something. Next, we see Aiden English talking to a member of the production crew because he's ready to show off the Milwaukee video, because our next segment is Rusev and Lana and Aiden English and Milwaukee. Rusev is in the ring. I'm going to say this again, but Rusev is much more charismatic and entertaining as a heel at this point. Since they turned him face, they've made him very, very serious. They don't let him smile. They don't let him quip as much as he can. One of the reasons he got over was wasn't because he's a big charismatic brute. It's because they let his own personality shine through, let him be a little silly, and this is what's lacking right now. These little tidbits of humor that we usually get out of Rusev. Missing them, I'm afraid. We'll see how things go, but as it goes right now, babyface Rusev is very bog standard. But one thing at a time, we'll see how things go. So he's in the ring, basically, and he's calling Aiden English out. He says, apparently there's videotape involving my wife and the city of Milwaukee. That was very poorly phrased, Rusev. I know what you meant, but it was very poorly phrased. So Aiden comes out, and he says, yes, I have the proof. And it is before we start, and he starts pulling out factoids about the city of Milwaukee. That it's on one of the Great Lakes. That it was many famous television shows and movies were shot there. Laverne and Shirley, Happy Days, basketball, and he ends up, but he ends up showing the video. So basically, the video is Aiden English. His shirt is off, and he's in his hotel room, and he's rehearsing a Rusev Day song, trying to find rhymes with Milwaukee and a way to put down the Milwaukee crowd. And there's a knock on the door, and it's Lana, who he lets in, and she tells him, Aiden, I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I have to tell you this, I want you. And boom, right there, the video freezes. Right? Like, so then everyone's like, ah, and Rusev sort of looks over at Lana's like, ah, and I'm like, man, it is so obvious that there's more to that conversation. It's like, Aiden, I want you to go get some coffee for Rusev and I, and this is not going to make sense in a couple of weeks or next week when this comes full circle. It's not going to make sense because Lana was so stoic and despondent in the ring. If I were her, I'd be like, Aiden, play the rest, It's like right then and there. It's like, why is she being cagey about it? Of course, he stopped it there. And now we're going to wait a week until Lana tells Rusev, you know what, Ruru, nothing happened, because in the video I tell him, I want you to stop singing because I'm trying to get some sleep. That's probably it, Stop singing. I've been trying to say this for a while. You sing too loud, and I'm in the room next door, and I'm trying to sleep. You're disturbing everyone on the floor. It's not going to make sense very, very quickly, because there's no reason for Lana to react despondently if there's more to the video that actually confirms that Aiden just pressed pause there, Anyway, Rusev chases after Aiden, right? Instead of confronting his wife, because that makes perfect sense. And Rusev is backstage looking for Aiden, and Lana tries to explain, and Rusev says, this is not the time. This is not the time to talk about this, Lana. Come on. This is what you call this is the Bulgarian brush off. This is not the time. I'm well traveled and well read. I know these things. I know these little tidbits of protocol. So if you go to any city in the country of Bulgaria and you start doing this to someone, you're not saying hello. You're brushing them off. It's like it'd be the equivalent of us here in North America going like this. Go away. The Bulgarian brush off. Next we get Daniel Bryan versus Shelton Benjamin. Miz is on commentary, driving home the fact that he's going to beat Daniel Bryan at the Super Showdown in the country of Australia, in the city of Melbourne. I think it's interesting how much of a hard sell it is at this point. Like, they're driving it hard, maybe too hard. I think they're telegraphing it a bit. I don't think Daniel Bryan is losing. So Shelton Benjamin goes right after Daniel Bryan. He's got something to prove here tonight. He presses Bryan over his head, drops him on his knee. Bryan battles back with the corner kicks, but Benjamin does a pop-up face slam on him. Bryan gets the yes lock early on Shelton, but he reaches the ropes. Benjamin repeatedly rams him on the outside between the ring and the barricade, like quite a few times. That was cool. Some nice show of aggression there. Bryan goes for the scary spot. Bryan goes for a diving headbutt, and Benjamin sort of rolls out of the way, but their heads connect nonetheless. I'm going to echo Sean Ross Sapp here, saying, I know Daniel Bryan is not going to be doing any more headbutts. And if he tries to pull one off, it's meant to be a fail. The opponent is meant to roll out of the way or whatever. But look at right here. This is an accident that could have been much more serious. That could have been awful. He should just not do it. This should be like the warning shot. It's like, okay, no more phony diving headbutts from this point on. And you know what? In fact, anyone who does a diving headbutt in wrestling these days shouldn't do it. I think we know enough about CTEs, and especially when you look back at history, you see what happened to Chris Benoit, you see what happened to Dynamite Kid, who had who's the diving headbutt was very much a part of their arsenal. Harley Race, often credited as creating the diving headbutt, said in an interview that he wishes he hadn't done it because there's too many people doing it and emulating it, and he sort of regrets pulling that out because too many people have destroyed their brains and their necks doing it. That said, and Lars Sullivan, until recently, had it in his arsenal, and I don't understand how anyone in WWE told him, Lars, you're not doing this. It's crazy. I don't like diving headbutts. For very different reasons than me not liking bear hugs and butterfly locks. All right? Two different entirely reasons. Anyway, so that was a little scary, but it turned out okay. Benjamin hits a release German on Daniel Bryan, goes for the cover, only gets two. Bryan hits a drop toe hold on Benjamin, who hits the corner turnbuckle hard. He hits a corner drop kick, runs back to the corner to hit another one, but Shelton chases him down, hits a knee right in the jaw. German into a bridge on Daniel Bryan, gets the cover, but only two. Bryan Hurricane Ron as Benjamin off the top rope, goes for the yes kicks. Benjamin ducks a yes kick. Bryan ducks a kick from Shelton Benjamin as well. Then gets an enziguri. Match comes to an end when Miz distracts Daniel Bryan. Turns right around, and as he does, Shelton Benjamin hits the pay dirt for the win. Ladies and gentlemen, Shelton Benjamin has beaten Daniel Bryan relatively clean. That was, I was not expecting that. And I am willing to bet that none of you were expecting that. So I am very interested to see where they're going with this. Despite the fact that Bryan got pinned somewhat clean, quite clean. There was still a distraction, and he still didn't look all that weak. And then after that, the Miz after this just goes right after him and beats him up on the outside and just tears right into him, essentially. Ends with the skull-crushing finale in the ring. So good segment. I like this match. I think it was fun. I think that both Benjamin and Daniel Bryan should have more matches. I think there's more to extract from this. I don't think they gave it their all. I was highly entertained and could probably be even more entertained. We get a Susan G. Komen segment here. I'm going to reserve my thoughts on the Susan G. Komen charity. this leads us into Peyton Royce versus Asuka. Lead up to their match in Australia, where the Iconics are going to be facing Asuka and Naomi. We're back from commercial, and Peyton is taking it to Asuka. The match began during commercial. I hate it. I hate when they do that. Peyton whips back out the Widow's Peak and hits it on Asuka, which was really cool. After that, the offense was all very, very tepid and ordinary. Asuka gets her into a leg lock and then into an ankle lock, but Peyton was able to get out of it. Asuka wins with a single arm camel clutch arm bar combination thing that turned into the Asuka lock, but not really. Nothing much going on here. I think it's time. I think that this feud will have run its course once we hit Australia. I was happy to see Peyton Royce pull out the Widow's Peak. And again, I should preface this. I mentioned this on Twitter. I went on to Twitter and I said, I don't know why Peyton doesn't use more of her typical offense, because she does corner strangles with her legs. She does reverse arm bars, stretch arm bars over the top rope. She does a great combination of suplexes, double suplexes, where she hits one, holds onto the hold, then flips around and does it. That she used to do perfectly in NXT. And her finisher, she has a beautiful fisherman's buster suplex into a bridge. I don't know why she doesn't do it more. And I'm gonna, well, that's it. I said it, but I also know. Thank you, people. When I mentioned this on Twitter, people were like, well, it's the producers. Well, it's Vince. WWE doesn't let it do all her offense. That's how it works. Of course I know that, folks. I know that it's the producers, that the people putting the matches together. They're like, Peyton, you sort of have to take it down a notch or two. I'm like, oh my God. I know this. It wasn't exactly directed towards her. It's more like, why doesn't she, it's not, I know it's not her conscious decision. It's more like, why doesn't she do her offense? Why isn't she? And I mean, it's not crazy offense that, WWE likes to bring down a little, not put too much pressure on the neck, nothing too crazy, no pile drivers, no, they like to keep the offense a little safer. She has relatively safe offense. Widow's Peak is cool. It's a cool visual. It's not that dangerous a move. Suplexes happen all the time. I don't know why they don't let her cut loose a little more, is my point. Seeing the Widow's Peak reminded me of that. Not the match, but SmackDown ends with another main event segment. You'd swear we're back in the late 1990s. WWF ending with main event promos. Becky Lynch comes out to big Becky chants. I think WWE has officially given up in trying to force the heel turn. I really think they've given up. I really think they're kind of seeing her as a Stone Cold right now and just letting her be a badass, let her do her thing. But I really think they've stopped trying to push it on us. She says she runs the SmackDown Women's Division and has made it the most relevant thing in all of WWE. Now she's relentless. She strikes before they strike me. Take a look. And they have a recap video of everything she's done to Charlotte. Back from the video, the audience is on fire. They're cheering. They're happy. Everybody loves Becky. She says she should be the face of Super Showdown. That caused a bit of controversy this week when they released the poster. Earlier this week or late last week when they released the poster for the show. Becky Lynch isn't even on it. So she reveals her poster. That was her big surprise. The poster that she's had done, where she took the pic where you see the picture of Becky holding the women's title high above her head over the prone body of Charlotte Flair from the photographer segment from a couple of weeks ago, next to the cricket grounds. I can't remember the name. Cricket grounds in Australia. and everyone cheers, and she says, this isn't about Triple H and Undertaker. This is about Becky. And Charlotte's music hit. She comes out to some pretty massive boos. She's getting the heel heat. And Charlotte goes right after Becky. She hits the figure 4 dangling off the apron towards the floor. People are not happy about it. They start to rally behind Becky, but she gets kicked in the mouth. Listen, the dynamic here, at least for the audience goes, it's pretty clear. Charlotte's the heel, Becky's the babyface. They want Becky to continue on this path. You know what? So do I. I don't see why she wouldn't retain in Australia this weekend. But it's not time for predictions. No. Predictions are going to happen this Friday. You're going to be able to see them this Friday as I'm joined, just as a reminder, by Chris Spizak of the Spies and the Benchmark show. He's going to be joining me. We're going to be giving our predictions for the show this weekend. It's going to be awesome. SmackDown tonight, I thought it was overall not bad. Pretty good go-home show as opposed to a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, it was a fine show. I don't have much to say about it other than my main sticking points were the storytelling in the Samoa Joe AJ Styles situation that really bothered me, and the New Day segment. Everything else was just fine, and you feel that they're building towards stuff. And again, the women are in the main event, even though it's just a segment. We're going off. We're going home with the women, and that's always great. I'm really looking forward to the SmackDown matches this weekend. So, folks, that'll wrap it up for this edition of the Warren Hayes Show, for the SmackDown Live Recap Show. Thank you very much for watching the video till the very end. If you haven't already, find me on tinyurl.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, and why don't you subscribe? Why don't you? What's stopping you? It's free. You just click the subscribe button, and you know what? I don't want to be a pester. I don't want to pester people with it. A lot of YouTubers do it, but the subscription button, the subscriptions, they really do help. They help YouTube understand that people like what you're doing, and it helps you in so many ways. So thank you if you do it. If you're already a subscriber, couldn't ask for anything more. Or I could ask you to go follow me on Twitter at Mr. Warren Hayes. That's also awesome. So guys, gals, thank you so very much once again for hanging out. And I'll see you next time. Bye.